All right, movement in Battlefield, right? First of all, I want to get the situation out the way that Battlefield looks like COD, right? Pros obviously can say it way before me that this game been moving like COD before COD was moving like COD, and that's just a fact in my opinion. Like Battlefield low key had all these type of movements before before Call of Duty. Seriously, like they had the jump peeking, they had all that. It's just like actually both had it at the same time of popularity, but obviously COD had the more populace of it. But movement wise, right? The whole topic is about the movement. A movement in Battlefield is kind of a art in my opinion, because while people say you can jump peek and stuff, some people can't really utilize the jump peeking. Some people can't shoot the gun right when you're jump peeking because obviously you have to have a certain technique to it, and the more you do it, the more you get good at it, obviously. So the movement in the game, for me, I would advocate that it will be a little bit like 2042 and Battlefield 4, but just a little slower. You know, it's a lot of things that people advocate for the next Battlefield, and I'm low key with the effects of it. Make Battlefield a little slower since this game is a little fast, but there has to be some level of a skill gap with the movement because we can't have people like bot walking in in ways that we should have already killed them. Speaking for the good players out there anyway. You know, mouse input not working, and we die by some bot walking person. When we already should have been had to kill. So movement is should be an art for the game. For something that can actually like categorize the different types of player bases, the different types of levels that's in the battlefield, right? Because we all know what the aiming, and the precision of your skill level in shooting targets, right? We all know what that's about. But the movement part is also a form of an art that should be utilized to a T and developed very like with caution, seriously, because what I've heard and what I've actually played against is that I heard that a lot of the movement been real damaged on, in the upcoming battlefields, in the last previous battlefields, and it kind of hindered the gameplay for certain, and it wasn't really the best choice to try to use movement since it didn't really, work. But in my opinion, and I wholeheartedly think that there's other opinions out there with me anyway, is that movement should be, very, very suitable for the game. And Hardline, right? The videos I posted about Hardline. Hardline is a good game, but that movement is too damn fast, bro. Like seriously, that movement get your eyes like when you say you want to warm up on a game, bro, you cannot warm up on Hardline because your eyes is it's too warmed up that it hurts. Like you can't see nothing. You can't see nothing for the past like few minutes, few hours every time you try to track a person. The game is just way too fast. So it's still a good game, but the movement in that game is not very, suitable for the game style. In Battlefield anyway, since we're going back to the old rules about, you know, the buildings and having to use the buildings positionings and also pushing with a purpose and all that good stuff, right? And we can't really have any fast movement where you can't really do anything when you should be able to do something to that target. Like obviously like coming around the corner and the guy like jumping around the corner shoot you and then you're done, you're disappeared, he disappeared, and you can't really see like what happened in that little span of a second, you know. But obviously with the slow movement, you can see, you can have a little bit of adjustable time and see what's going on and do that, right? And that is a little bit of a difference between Call of Duty and Battlefield. Even though they have a little bit of a similar type movement scale, Battlefield uses more of an art form between, their movement style, between COD and their movement style. You know, no disrespect towards Call of Duty players and COD, as it is a good game, but for the meantime, we cannot be advocating for movement that doesn't serve a purpose in the game. Then what do we need? What do we need to move for? We might as well just stand still and try to shoot at each other. Like that's the best possible form I can say. Like we should have movement that is utilized to a T. That is what I think for the game should be. What the game's movement should be. Because honestly, having having too passive of a movement and not like having something for at least, competitive players, as I am competitive. No, I'm not really a earning competitor, but I'm a internal competitor. There's different times. But anyways, seriously, the movement should be utilized. The movement should not change when it's already good. The little the little reviews that I see about movement doesn't really serve any purpose about, why the movement should be nerfed. Like it being too fast when I seen something on a scale that it was probably slower than 2042, and I guess everybody enjoyed 2042 because the people who say that are the people I'm killing. But it's just it's not really suitable, right? It's not suitable for the game to have bad movement. You need movement in the game. We need movement in the game. And I'm liking the leaks that I'm seeing about Battlefield and the playtest for the people who was in it, congrats to them. It's just a wholehearted decision for me to have a certain level of respect to the people who want something that needs to be that needs to be learned, that needs to be learned instead of being handed to them. And that is a hard part to do for casual players and people who is competitive and people who are pros and for the whole thing. And I really do believe and hope that something will happen in the mean sense that will have like a equal termination for the gameplay style for everybody. Not termination, but yeah, for the gameplay style anyway. For the gameplay style for the whole community. So yeah, that's what I think about the movement in Battlefield. It's an art form. It needs to be utilized to a good certain point, and it don't really need to be fixed anymore or fixed any less if it's already fixed. So if it's down to it, if it's down to a T, and people already love the game and the movement, as I'm gonna say this one more time, that I heard that Battlefield 1 got their ass nerfed and and the movement was very good, and then they nerfed it. You can't slide anymore, you can't do none of that and all that jizz and stuff, and then you know the game was bad all of a sudden. And then Battlefield 5, right? That game still has a little bit of its movement, but I played a little bit and it was faster on release a little bit, and then it got nerfed obviously, and then it went down the barrel a little bit for the movement. And Battlefield 4, obviously, their movement was never touched, and what do everybody say about that movement? Is one of the best movements in the franchise of the game. So, and I believe it. And Battlefield 3 was the aftermath of Battlefield 4. So I really do believe that the Battlefield 4 in its new form, for the upcoming game can be way better, and not really, hand it to casuals or even competitive or pro players. We all have to learn something or else the game will be boring. And movement is a big factor as, the growing aspects of FPS. So I think that it will be a good choice to have movement, utilized to a T. So that's my thoughts on Battlefield's movement. The movement is good for the previous Battlefields, but could be way better. That's what I think. 2042, it was too fast. 5, it was utilized but not utilized in a good sense. Battlefield 1 was nerfed as hell, and 4 was in its prime, and it doesn't get that much gratification because they just get criticized for being like COD. So that's my thing, is that the movement is a good choice to utilize on, and I do respect the people at who's making the game, Dice, whatever. If they hear it, respect to them, and believe on movement. Seriously, believe on movement, and that's all I have to say. Enjoy the video. Well, thanks for enjoying the video anyway. Yeah, bye.